business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Steve Ramona. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the pod.
Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. Every episode is an invitation, a reminder that business and life isn't just about profit, it's about purpose. It's about showing up with a servant's heart in every deal, every decision, and every day. Today's guest, he's going to light you up. He's going to motivate you. He's going to challenge you. But more importantly, you're going to walk away with tools that inspire action both in your life and the lives of others. Imagine that, what you get to do. It's a gift. Before we dive in, here's your homework today. How are you going to serve yourself and others today? Keyword is today. Let's not wait to do this. We can change the world one day at a time. It doesn't have to be a big impact. Even a small act of kindness or courage can change this game. So lean in, take notes, and let's discover how servant leadership in business and life can create ripple effects that last far beyond the bottom line. And my quick shout out to Epic Impact, the only universal, emotionally resonant messaging framework that works anywhere for any audience. This 4-step system transformed how I pitch, how I post, and how I podcast, using those 3 powerful words: engage, persuade, inspire, and close. And I use it daily, and it works, trust me. Grab your free trial at epicimpact.ai with the promo code Steve to start inspiring action today. And a quick shout out, we just hit top 6 in small business marketing, podcasting. We're so excited here, but more excited because the guests like I have today and you audience. We must be making an impact, so let's continue doing that. So thank you to all of you who've been part of it. With that being said, let's bring this incredible guest onto the show. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Hey, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
You have incredible principles for life. You have 10 fundamental ones. What are they and what do they mean?
Well, I think that I've had some great mentors over the years, Steve, that have really, guided me to become a better person and constantly looking for that, becoming better. And so, I wanted to have kind of a sheet that I could go to and just hold myself accountable, have others hold me accountable as well. And, that's really why I kind of wrote those years ago. And I think they're on my LinkedIn profile. And I do share them, and I do have in-depth conversations about them. People want to know more about them and why they are the way they are, and if they ever change, which the answer is yes, they do. I do update them, and I change some more and add to them. So yeah, that's what they're all about.
Well, servant heart, servant leadership is tied to mentorship. If you did not meet those mentors, would you be as successful as you are today?
No, absolutely not. No question in my mind, for sure. I think that those mentors are, in my mind, I mean, I'm an ex-professional athlete, so I'm kind of tied into having people surround me and do things for me and help me and make sure I'm on the right path. But, into my business career, I realized, I just realized how important that was, maybe even more so than in professional sports. And so I've had some great ones, and I've sought them out, and I think a lot of times because of what I was doing, they were more than happy to help and participate. So yeah, I would. But to answer your question, absolutely not. No question in my mind.
You mentioned sports, and I talk about the bridge between business and sports is so small. You learn in sports, but you can take it to business. Why retired athletes like you are doing well in business. Talk about what you've learned in sports, your professional career that you took you to this next step of business.
Yeah, I think that honestly, there's some of the things that we learn in sports that are not helpful as well. I think that I think now there's obviously, as we know, there's a lot of money in sports, and so when these guys are finished now, they go out and they invest and they do these things, and they're kind of viewed as successful business people, and some of them certainly are. But I think the reality is that, like we learned, the very first thing, one of the things I learned, and every athlete is we tend to work on our weaknesses. They want the all-round player, they want that type of thing. Yet in business, it's the total opposite. And it wasn't until I met the great Stephen Covey, who taught me that, the best thing I could do is to find what I love to do and I was good at, and then surround myself with people who love to do what I hate. And that was a difficult one for me. Actually, Steve and I worked on that for about a year. But that's kind of the total opposite. So I think that, athletes certainly have got that discipline and some of the things and the belief system, which I talked about on the onset here. And there's certainly some of those qualities that go towards being a successful business person.
Now, like as you mentioned, the downside of sports, because I'm always talking a positive, but there's a negative, and money is one of them, and not having a good coach/mentor. And I learned mentorship through my sports. I know you did. You just mentioned, and then you met Stephen Covey. Parents out there, I'm just going to shout this out: get your kids in sports. I played football, basketball, baseball. I'm 64. You're a hockey and multiple sports. Even if it's just one sport, if it's tennis, whatever it is, it's just a great lesson for life, learning about sports and growing with sports. Talk about your new project. Well, it's not new, but this project you're doing about getting rid of the homeless. It's a powerful project, but it's also inspirational.
Yeah, I started this almost 10 years ago. I was fortunate enough to, sell my ad agency and kind of transitioned into my next chapter. And I wanted that to be, I felt that this was probably going to be my last chapter, not necessarily because of my age, but more importantly, this is what I feel I was put on the planet to do. And that's all about, having a purpose. And I used to kid Stephen about having, making a positive impact in the world. Mentors often ask you, I'm sure someone a lot can relate to this, is what do you want on your tombstone? I hate the question. I always said, what do I care? I won't be around. But jokingly, I always believed, for some reason, it's kind of strange because I wasn't, we didn't have a lot of money when I was growing up, but I always wanted to leave a legacy of making a positive impact in the world. And so after I transitioned out of the company and now I had the time, I had the resources, I had everything I needed. So now it was time to do that. The only thing I didn't have was the education. I didn't have the knowledge of the space. And that's what we spent the first couple of years on really doing. And which is a result of what we do now, how we built these models and how we built them to last and include the three principles that I know you and I've talked about before, which is transparency, sustainability, and collaboration. Because those are the three foundations that any model needs if they're going to last and actually make a positive impact in this space.
Yeah, purpose is the hardest thing for people to do. And you're just getting the education. That's the easy part. You can find the mentors, find the people to educate you. But that purpose and positive purpose, you don't want that negative purpose, which I've talked to people that have, like, I'm okay being broke. I'm like, what? That's not helping anybody, including yourself, right? Just not a good attitude. Going through your stuff, you're so much great stuff. The 3D every day. Dream, dare, do. It's powerful. Talk about that.
That I picked that up. In fact, I said it I can remember it was, I'm thinking it was over 10 years ago, but I was talking about, and someone told me about something, and I said, well, it's like, why don't we live in 3D then? And, 3D obviously is like, dimensional type of thing. And I'm like, no, it's dream, dare, and do. And I didn't even realize I said it, but he called me the next day and he said, what's with that dream, dare, and do? I've been thinking about it all day. I'm like, yeah, I didn't really think about it when I said it. It kind of came out naturally. And he said, that's pretty powerful. You should use that. And I have used it every single day since then. And I've always, obviously, you've seen some of my social media posts. It always ends with live life in 3D. Dream, dare, do. And it's really powerful because it kind of encompasses a lot of things that we talk about, that other people talk about, the setting goals and things like that. If you kind of boil it down, that dream, dare, do. Stephen Covey liked dream, dare, do. I shared that with him when I first had it. He told me he was going to steal it, actually, which I'm glad he didn't, because it would have been known as Stephen Covey's, because he's way more popular than me. But so that's just something, as I said, it just kind of came out and it just took off. So I have a lot of people that actually, I've seen people, for example, that follow me on LinkedIn or Facebook and read my posts. And when they come up, that's what they say. Hey, 3D. I'm like, oh, you read my posts? Yes, I do. I love them. I like it. So yeah, it's kind of just one of those things that I didn't plan, but it's turned out pretty well.
Fantastic. And it's such a great governor to what you want to do in your life to lead you to purpose and growth and positivity.
Yeah.
No Dream, dare, do. Yeah. That's all positive. It didn't say,
Yeah.
nightmare, uncourageous, and don't do it. It's so positive.
Exactly.
And that's your whole life is positive. But that leads to leadership.
Mhm.
What does a strong leader look like to you?
This has changed over the years.
Mhm.
I started, especially when I was first working with Stephen, I tended to be a little bit overpowering. I had I think a lot of people do when they first start out is like, this is the way something's done, which now we know is ridiculous. There's 14 different ways to do something, and sometimes you have to let people go do it their way. So leadership is really, communicating. Proper communication is key for me, but then allowing people to go and do things. And by the way, make mistakes. We have in all of my companies since dealing with Stephen, we always had say, do not be afraid to make mistakes. That's where you're going to get the experiences. That's where you're going to learn, and that's part of life. So never fear that, because you're going to become a better person by doing that. So I think that's what a good leader does. Make sure we actually meet in our company now once a week, and we lay out, everybody has their KPIs for the week and what they're going to do, and then they go do it. And I happen to know there's a couple of guys who play golf pretty much every day, which is fine. Why would I care, as long as at the end of the week the stuff that they said was going to be done is done? So I've certainly changed. That was not the way I was before, but I've become a better leader, I think, because of it.
No, and that's change and pivoting is huge for any leader. You have to,
Absolutely.
because when from 20 to 64, I'm a completely different person. Not that I
Oh,
was a
for
leader
sure.
at 20, but we've learned so much. So
Yeah.
leadership leads back to mentoring. And I get
Yeah.
asked this question all the time, and you're an expert at this, I believe.
Yep.
How does somebody find that mentor or mentors to make that difference?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and the answer to me is a very simple one. Ask. I'm a mentor to a number of people that have just reached out and said, "Listen, I've been following you or whatever. Is there any chance that we could maybe do a call, a half-hour call once a month or something like that?" I absolutely, and I usually tell them, listen, I'm really busy. I mean, everybody's busy, right? But you find a time in my calendar that you can book. I mean, don't abuse it, but you find a time, and we'll talk for half an hour, and you go over the things that you need, and I'll help you as much as I can. So I do that with a number of young people, which I'm really happy about, because I think most of them were reluctant, right? They get this perception of who you are and everything, and I keep telling them, and I joke about it because I just still look at myself as just like a regular guy. I just happen to be doing some pretty extraordinary things with the help of a lot of people around me. So yeah, just ask, reach out and ask. The worst they could say is say no. I mean, what, like, they're not going to hit you over the head with a hockey stick. It's just going to be, sorry, I don't have the time. That's okay. Then find somebody else. But you got to ask. If you want to mentor today, you have to reach out, ask, and look for someone who's where you want to be, because they'll share their story about why they got there or how they got there. So I think that's important.
Yeah, and one thing you said about being a regular guy, I tell people, and this is you perfectly and me, we're nothing special, but we're special because we take action,
That's it.
right?
It's a great point, and that's really what we've done. Everybody's got great ideas and everything, right? I mean, but taking action is that step, right? That step where you gotta go. It's like dream, dare, do, right? I mean, you gotta do it. It's all you can dream about it, and you can dare yourself, but you still gotta do it. And that's the real key to the thing. And I think that's probably one of the things I'm happiest about my own life and about who I've become as a person, is because I don't just talk about things. I find ways to do them, and then I go out and do them. And I think that that's one of the things I'm probably the most proudest of.
You're a doer, not a talker. I love it.
Yeah, yeah,
So let's stick on the mentoring side
yeah.
here.
Mm-hmm.
So I get asked, and I mentor people too. So my
Yeah,
heart's singing when you talk about it, because it's such a joy when
yeah.
people mentor and they grow. But when they don't take action, so you're mentoring somebody,
Mm-hmm.
student, whoever it may be, young person, who it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter,
Yep.
and you give them some advice, and they come back to you a month later and say, "Hey, it doesn't work." And you go, "Did you take action?" "Oh no, I didn't have time." How do you handle that as a mentor?
Yeah, I'm pretty one of those guys that's in I never hold back. I tell them, I'm like, oh, what the hell? I mean, you don't waste my time. I mean, yeah, I'll help you as much as I can, but if you're not going to do it, then then just stop calling type of thing. I have no issues about telling them and making sure. I think that's one of the greatest ways I learned in the past as well, where people didn't sugarcoat it and they just told me, especially when I started becoming when I was younger, started becoming a pretty good athlete. And you had a lot of those yes people around, but it was the ones who didn't care how good of a hockey player you were or football player, whatever it was. They told you the way it was, and those people at first, it was kind of, you might not have liked them. He's like, don't you know who you're talking to? But then you realized how important they were to have them in your life. And so, yeah, I let them know that that's not the way to do it.
I got to be fully transparent with you, Stephen. That was a selfish question because
Yep.
I struggle with that. And I'm
Yep.
glad you said what you did because it's our time. And
Yep.
audience, this guy's got a servant's heart as big as anybody. You can still say no and tell people, and I don't know the right word, but give them, hey, you're not doing it. I can't help you. That's serving them because you keep, and I worked with a guy for a year, never did anything. I just said, stop. He's like, what? Well, I enabled him. Can't do
Yep.
that. That
Absolutely.
doesn't
Oh,
help
I
you.
think that's so true. And sometimes it's on us because, I had struggles all the time that, to not to say no. Saying no, for example. There's a good one, Tony. Tony's a great teacher in that, Tony Robbins, and he's great at that. And that I had to learn that actually from him because I was trying to help everybody with everything. And it was only costing me because my mother taught me put other people's first. And I mean, I love my mother and everything, but we had nothing, and she was always helping everybody else. And now I look back, I realize why we had nothing. So, so I had to learn that the hard way as well.
No, and it's you learn from your parents. That's great because our
Yeah.
parents are our teachers in our beginning, but sometimes they're
Yeah.
not teaching correctly. I'm not saying anything.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yes, I sure do. And not for, again, it's not for lack of effort, not for wanting the best for you or everything, but sometimes they weren't taught that way,
Yep.
I went through that with Tony, and the word try, didn't even realize. And it's one of the worst words you can use in the English language, and it's subconsciously is built in your brain, because try actually will help you fail more times. When you start saying, I'm going to try to do it, yeah, okay, well, that's just a recipe for failing because your subconscious is telling you that's okay. Because as long as you try your best, that's what's important, right? No, that's not right. Eliminate that word, which I've done thanks to Tony Robbins.
And you put do in, dream, dare, do
Changed
the
it,
best.
and I now it's so funny, Steve, because I now say to people, and they say, okay, well, what time you want to meet? I'll say 5 o'clock. Okay, I'll try to be there at 5. And without even saying, I just say, well, can you be there at 5? Well, yeah, I'll try to be there. Well, can you be there finally, third or fourth time? They'll say, okay, I'll be there at 5. I know they're going to be there at 5. They don't even know why. I don't even get into it with them. I just say, okay, fine. But you eliminate that word when we've got a lot of them subconsciously, as you know, in our mind. So you eliminate some of those, and you're going to get you'll live a much better life. That's for sure.
And speaking of subconscious positive mindset, that's a
Mhm.
skill set that people can learn. How important is it?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, yourself. I mean, that's life. We go as our mind does, right? I mean, it's all in the mind. We talk about AI and all this other stuff. We created it. I mean, it came from our minds. So it's most powerful AI still. I actually had this conversation yesterday with somebody doing an interview, and they said how powerful AI is. I said, yeah, after us, of course. We're the ones who created it. So yeah, I mean, we're still there. And we always will be. We've created some of the greatest things in the world, or all the greatest things in the world, actually. But I think mindset is really important. You got to work on it. That's the other thing. It's like being fit or anything else. You got to work on your mind as well. The books you're reading, the shows you're watching, all these different things. So important if you want to be your best self, which hopefully most people do. I think some people might not, but that's the choice they make, right?
Well, and that's the key about the choice. I think everybody inside
Yeah,
in their soul wants to be successful, but something, key behaviors,
absolutely.
habits, and all that really
Mhm.
affect that. Well,
Yeah.
when it comes to your principles, which I saw a question a while back, somebody asked, how do I start with these principles? What do I do first? I think that'd be a great
Mhm.
question here.
Yeah, I mean, you want to set a great. I mean, you've got to sit down, kind of in the quiet spot, and really take issue with yourself, where you are, where you want to be, why you're not there. I mean, it really requires a conversation. Um, and also, for me, I picked up habits and traits from other people that I wanted, to be like. I used to be one of those guys that was very confrontational, did not know when to shut up, that I was just wasting my time and energy, and I was never going to teach this person something. I just would go on and on and on, almost like the saying no type of thing, to these people. So you've got to kind of get there, and then just I like Stephen was brilliant about starting with the end in mind. I mean, it was one of his trademarks and one of it from his book. And so start with the end in mind. Find out, like, ask yourself and be really truthful and honest. Where do I want to be? What type of person do I want to be? And then once you get that, and it'll make you feel good, by the way, too, when you do, when you get that, and you're like, yeah, that's the type of way. My uncle, everybody loved my uncle. He was just one of those guys, and he said he would, and he'd always say, what, leave it with me, or I'll help you. And he always did, and people just loved him. And I always wanted to be like that, but I was never like that because I could be confrontational, and I told you what was on my mind sometimes when I didn't need to, which I don't do anymore, thank goodness. So you just want to be a better person, and so you have these people that kind of that you want to amplify and say that's the type of person I want to be. And so you just start to create that list. And that's what will get you to where you want to be.
Beautiful. And confrontational, when you say that, I smile in my head because I think of hockey.
Yeah. Oh,
that's probably not the best background not to be confrontational.
Exactly. You bring these things, and the other thing is there's an ego involved, right? I mean, you got to remember, professional athletes are surrounded by people every single day to tell them how great they are. And and then all of a sudden, like with me, for example, it's just gone. Like literally just boom, that was it. They could never play again, surgery, da 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 da. And then you're not so great anymore. And not people surrounding you are not telling you how great you are, but you still kind of carry that ego through. And sometimes with athletes, I always tell people they talk about athletes, especially ones recently that have left. Oh, I met that guy, and he's like, I'm just like, give him a little time to adjust. It's a big adjustment from being there. And the other thing is with athletes is you have to believe that yourself. You have to believe it. You're fighting against all the other people for a job. And so you have to believe you're the greatest thing since sliced bread type of thing. And it's a tough transition once you get into it. So I think that there of athletes, even the ones I've met now that I haven't seen in a while or whatever, not just hockey players, but I've got good friends who are NBA and NFL players, and you can see them over the years transition and becoming better human beings because of it. So, yeah, I think you have to kind of adjust accordingly to how you're looking at people and give them the benefit of the doubt on those things.
Yeah, you keep the ego in the hockey arena, the football field, the baseball diamond. Keep it there when you walk out.
Yeah,
and you said something I love, that it's servant to me. It's when you meet a celebrity or somebody, a professional athlete, you know what's going on that day with them.
Yeah.
So be careful in judging.
Absolutely.
And
yeah, for sure.
With you, right?
Exactly. I've met some of the biggest stars in the world, and for the most part, they've been just fantastic. I mean, they're just regular people. And I guess that's one of the other things about having been a professional athlete is when you meet these people, you don't put them up on pedestals or anything like that. You realize they're just regular people, just like I used to be. And so that's the place to be.
Great piece of advice, because they're running blood through their veins, just like me and you.
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
Could be Tom Brady,
for sure.
Stephen Clarke. It doesn't matter. We're all human.
Exactly.
Treat them that way until they treat you wrong, and then you make the decision to make the next step.
Exactly, 100%.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, well, probably unfortunately, we come to the end. So I like to ask one question. This has been such a great show. Audience, if you're not taking notes, re-listen to this because you're going to want to take notes. I got a bunch of notes here. So I've got a reservation at a restaurant, table of 4. You're going to sit in one of the chairs. In those 3 empty chairs, who would you sit down with? Who would you invite to sit down with to talk, get to know whether they're dead or alive, and what food would you order for the table?
Yeah, I obviously I would love to have Stephen back for a meal. I think Nelson Mandela was somebody I had a great a great deal of respect for. And the other one, which might irk some people, but I had so much respect for him, would be Obama. just have I just think in my mind, based on the situation he was put in and the circumstances and everything, just a remarkable human being. And so those would be the three. I would order in that particular thing. I would order Chinese food because I happen to love Chinese food. I know Stephen did as well, and I think that you can get something for everybody. So that would make the entire table happy.
Yeah, like a good Italian family meal. The Chinese be great. That round table spinning
Yeah,
around. They just
exactly. Yeah,
You nailed
exactly.
that. You nailed that.
Thank you.
Stephen, you've blessed the audience. You've blessed me. Thank you for taking the time. I know people listening want to learn more about the project or learn more about the principles. How can they find out about that and get connected?
Yeah, the reality is we have two main companies now, rtgroupusa.com. Go there. There are some brilliant programs there that not just that I built, but with a lot of help from other people. And the other one is purposedriventravel.net. That's coming to every city in North America. That's a community program that we tap into the 80 million volunteers, and we help them raise more money for their charity of choice, but also receive free travel. And we do at the same time eradicate homelessness and hunger in every single city. So those are the two ones. Check those out. There's an info there thing. If you need more information, click on that. Somebody will get back to you and share that. If you need to talk to me, reach out. It's just my name, S. Clarke, Clarke, at rtggroupinc.com. Happy to answer any questions or whatever. And just put in the subject line that, what it's a little bit about, so I can make sure that I can see it and respond to it.
Servant's heart. Look at all that great stuff you're doing, audience. This is what it's all about. This is where you could be, and he's still growing. That's the great thing. He's not done yet. He's got many years. When he comes back, because I'm going to bring him back. Yeah, we're going to have some great updates. Thanks again for taking the time and being awesome. It's been a blessing. Audience, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and here's why: you get this link sent to you or any other link, and they're gifts. So if you got somebody who really wants to change homelessness or wants to learn principles to change their life, I think you just listen to this podcast and then start watching some of Stephen's posts on LinkedIn. And for nothing, you can make a huge impact. But more importantly, you can make impact with your friends and family or your coworkers or people you work with. It's a game changer. So go ahead and subscribe, and any other podcast as well. It doesn't have to be this one. Think of those as gifts. With that being said, me and Steve want to thank everybody for watching or listening to this podcast. We'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.